Hey, welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast with your host, me, Hanna Nuss. Okay. This gal right here is hurting, because of the world. And I don't even know. Like, usually I prep for the show before and I can focus, and I couldn't get there. I couldn't get focused. And I think I'm at the place now where I know where we're going to head. But I don't know. It's people. It's people. It's crazy that we're sitting in this world debating politics where it's people. And I think we've been so convinced that our political views rise above everything else and stand in front of people. And strip all that back. Strip back all the opinions. Strip back everything that you know, think that you know, and just focus on people. What is right? What isn't right is not dependent on your political views. It's the same as with this virus. Like, we're not talking about just you wearing a mask. We're talking about you helping to wear a mask because it might help someone else. This is how we start to undo this unjustness. We stop talking about it like it's politics, like it's Democrat, Republican, like it's a battle there, because it's not. Remove all of that, because that's noise. People. Period. How are we helping? How are we moving? How are we supporting, growing, moving forward? Right? So let's go ahead and ground ourselves in our greatness. I'm going to go ahead and break down the impacts of social influence and how that has put us in the place that we're in now. And we're going to get into that. So my great thing from yesterday was this realization that we're doing some video and like we need to up the level. And as I continue to speak and get on new stages and walk and work through into this new venture, right? This is my job. I have to embrace and commit to the fact that this is what I do. I make videos, right? I make videos, I record podcasts, and so I write, and so I have to protect and nurture those spaces. So yesterday it was like, I am lost. I'm lost on what to even do, how to even show up in this world, how to not show up completely washed out because of lighting, because of all the things. And so I went into my favorite cosmetics store and they showed me how to apply makeup. They showed me what to do. And I don't know that I have it quite right, but it definitely looks better than it did yesterday. We're all about just growing and getting better. And, you know, I appreciate any place that's just willing to like go the extra mile to see right where you're at and help you get where you're trying to go when you explain things. And so multiple times, like it was like, okay, let's apply this. And she's pulling out colors that I'm just like, whoa, that's a lot of color. You're scaring me. And she's like, this isn't like your everyday look, maybe. But you have to go here if you want to show up, right? On camera, in things. And I still haven't gotten it quite right, but I definitely feel a lot better about how it looks today than I did yesterday, than I did the day before that. And that's just it. We're improving every day. So, blah, blah, blah. If you want all natural makeup products, rootpretty.com. I think that's where you get it. Anyways, you can follow them. You can like them. They're all over. It is an Iowa-based makeup company, which I am here for, but it's also all organic and all natural. And I don't oftentimes get to support things like that, especially with where my life is right now. Come on. But when I can reinvest in my community, when I can find products that are better than anything I found anywhere else, which always blows my mind. Like, really? This was just sitting 15 minutes away in a downtown and I didn't know about it? Boo. Boo me. But here we are, getting better, finding things. Yay. Okay. So that's my great thing. We're going to dive into this subject hard. And this is what I will tell you. I am going to present the facts that I know. I only know these things at a deeper level because this is the environment that I used to work in, that I know better than most things. Okay? So I'm going to touch on social influence. And here's how it relates to what we talk about on this podcast. First and foremost, we are all here because we are trying to get better and we are trying to broaden our horizons in the way that we think. If you are not here for that, I don't know why you're still here. Here's the thing. 3 weeks ago, I interviewed someone who talked about anti-diet culture, all these things. I wasn't sitting there going, yep, I know, anti-diet, right? I am still growing and learning in that space. That's why I brought her here. I actually just messaged Mia and I said she had shared something that was about food addiction and how we actually have diet addiction. And I remember having that light bulb moment in our podcast interview when she said, like, sis, that isn't food addiction. Right? And I have talked on this podcast about how I believed that I had food addiction. And she changed that in me. And the only way to allow change in is to be open to it. And so that's why I keep bringing on new voices. That's why we keep pushing. I'm not the only one with ideas. I'm not the only one who knows things. I want to continue to grow this audience and bring in new voices, new opinions, new stories, because that is the only way to keep growing. And so we'll keep going there, right? And so I brought her in to broaden that horizon, got new ways of thinking about the world, completely changed how I take on diet culture. Now, this is what I will tell you. The world right now, as it sits, as we interact with and are influenced by things, right? And a lot of those things are reliant on this, on our feeds. We can work into loopholes, and the algorithm attributes to this. So every social media platform that you are on, that you are learning from, and sorry, here's my background on this. I went to school for public relations marketing. I was a marketing strategist for 5 years, and I have worked in marketing for 12 years. Okay, so that's my background. This is how I know these things. I also am doing a lot of work in understanding how we work in social media, how we do that, what influences people, how to work in that space. So the algorithm works like this. The second that you click something or like something, the algorithm is going to try to feed you more of that thing. And it will go more and more extreme as you go. So if you back 2 years ago clicked and liked something related to people not kneeling for the national anthem, right? Say that you were early on that train, like, no, we shouldn't be doing that. And so you liked one article that was written. The algorithm goes in its head, in its algorithmic head, that's definitely not what it is, in its computer. And yes, you have your own one assigned to you. No matter which channel you're on, it's keeping track of all this. It's all aggregated here in your personal algorithm, built to feed you more of what you like. So say that you like that early on. Then it's going to try to feed you something a little more. And if you just ignore that, it's going to try to pull you the other way. It's going to try to decide and decipher where you sit on any given topic, right? Whether it's related to cats or dogs, whether it's related to Black Lives Matter, whether it's related to your Aunt Sharon, right? The algorithm is built to keep you there. So anytime that you like something, it's going to want to serve you more of that. Right? If your mind is being blown right now, it's not an evil thing either, right? But here's how we help. And I shared this in my stories today. Because algorithms are built around things that maybe you stood for before, that maybe you don't anymore, maybe your mind is starting to shift. This is why we are vital in any given fight. Here I sit as a very white woman. Dressed. Yesterday at the makeup store, I said, I feel like I'm invisible, like my skin actually has no color at all. I'm not convinced that it still looks like it does, just looking at this live feed, but we're getting there. Here I sit, right? This is not my fight. This is not my voice. This is not my pain. I have pain that I've absorbed from other people because I can see and feel how painful this is, but I will never be able to understand the length, the depth of that pain fully, no matter how much I try. So I've never experienced it and I never will. Okay? Here's the deal. Sitting here as a very white, very small town person, right? The likelihood that everyone surrounding me, everyone within my social network, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever I'm at, right? On YouTube, wherever, everywhere you're being tracked. Sorry. It's predominantly white, right? For sure. For sure it is. And so as you start to venture into this world on social, you are building algorithms around yourself and your activity. And so if you were on the early train, the don't kneel train, because of our troops, because of all of that, and that is just, that's a way to silence people. And I understand that there are a lot of different ways to view this. But what I'm going to tell you right now, no matter where you sit on the topic, is that the worlds that are being created for us are catered to what our social networks look like, which is why it is so offensive to people, right? So you see someone just spout off and lose their damn mind. This is why. The second that someone penetrates their network and their way of thinking, because their entire worlds, right? Some people only live on social media, especially right now, because their entire worlds are built around and catered to only the things that they like. If you penetrate that, you're going to deeply offend them because they've been able to live in this world. So here's how we help. Right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. But if you want to help, if you want to join in, and your network is predominantly white, this is how you can help. Start sharing. Because you have networks that only you can penetrate. The algorithms are built to keep those voices out, but your voice, standing up for what you believe in, standing up for people, period. Black lives, period. Matter, period. Standing up and helping to penetrate where penetration wasn't possible before. And I keep saying that word and it's creepy. I'm sorry. I can't think of another word, and it's creeping me out too as I continue to say it, but I'm going to keep saying it. Social networks are likely unpenetrable by the people who are doing this work. They can't get in. Because the algorithm is built to keep them out. And it's not like people are going, oh, this doesn't matter to me. I mean, some people are, okay? Some people are. But I think sometimes it's unintentional, right? If I wasn't telling you this right now, would you even know that entire worlds are built around you just liking one photo that I share, right? Builds this algorithm based on the hashtags that I use. Builds this algorithm, and it's not just Instagram, it's not just Facebook, it's not just social networks. Now your search is built around that. Actually, search was probably before social networks. If you're on Netflix, there's an algorithm built around that. How do you think that they suggest what you might like next? It's computers, it's science, it's sitting in a room and it's thinking, this computer, about what you might like next. So you think that you can escape the algorithm and you can't. And this is why we have to continue to challenge the way that we think. We have to keep bringing in voices of differing opinions. Otherwise, we will forever just live in this bubble. And we can continue to live there. That's what's scarier, right? If you don't want to escape that network, you don't have to. And so that is why your most vital step that you could take is just in sharing. And I know that that seems scary. I get it, right? I was talking to a friend the other day and I'm like, I don't know what my fight is. I don't even know that I have a voice, and I don't. I don't have a voice. But I do have the ability to get those women and men's voices in front of people who otherwise wouldn't see it because of the network that I am in. That is predominantly white. That is predominantly likely opposed to this, but they're opposed because it continues feeding in, right? There's no opposition that would ever come into that space. Because there doesn't have to be. And no, they're not asking for it. And yes, they can go ahead and just unlike me, and you can never listen to this podcast again. Probably the higher likelihood is that you stopped listening 20 minutes ago because you don't agree with what I'm saying. But bottom line, it's people. It's unjust, no matter how you look at it. It's unjust. And you can start. And you can start by finding voices that look different from you. finding people who look different from you, finding and seeking out opinions that challenge the ones that you have. My opinion on food, on diet and exercise, was that we just need to be in better control and we need to move and we need to do these things. And so I brought in someone who would challenge those thoughts, someone who was a step further, 10 steps further than I was on that journey of just self-acceptance. And she helped me to get over that mountain. And that is why we have to continue to fight, to continue to share, to broaden, to move different ideas into these worlds that otherwise wouldn't be touched. You have the ability, and if you're sitting there and you're going, oh, yes, I do, but I don't know if I want to bark up that tree. I know. But there aren't enough buildings that apparently have been burned down. No one, people aren't listening because they don't have to. Because they can just live in these worlds that they create for themselves. They don't have to listen. They don't have to acknowledge it. You realize that I don't know who you are listening or watching, right? But if you are a white woman, we have this beautiful ability to wake up tomorrow and say, doesn't really affect me. Keep fighting the good fight. I'm going to go on to kitten videos now. Right? Or do you want to continue to challenge the way that you look at it, to challenge your own community, to challenge and move forward, work in this area because it's unjust? Right? And my best ability looks like using what you have right in front of you. Right? And that's not just social media, but that's also, right, like we talked about all the months before about penetrating your social networks. Yes, family dinners. Yes. You're going to have to be that girl. Because if you aren't, who is? Who is challenging that opinion, right? And I have friends who are cops, and I have friends whose husbands are cops, and I am not by any means saying or thinking that they're bad people. I'm just saying the world has been built unjustly. As I continue to read and better understand where our education systems have pushed us as far as history goes, it makes me a little bit crazy, right? But similar to how our social algorithms are built, that's how we built our education systems, right? They're built around the way that we wanted our nation to see ourselves, right? Of course we want to be viewed as the greatest nation who never went through anything, but if we don't also acknowledge the fact that we were built on and by people who were oppressed, and then we continued to build that system, oppressing them, right? And we don't think that that has impacted how we do justice, how we continue to build systems? It has, right? And it's only growing more by the day because we're allowed to choose what we take in. And people who are angered by what you may present as opposition doesn't mean they're angry at you. Sometimes it's just about that. It's just about the social network. It's just about having a voice of challenge at all, because we aren't used to that, right? Because we have this ability to go and just live in this world that we create. We have the ability to escape. We have the ability to take part in, and we have the ability to build the world that we want to live in, and we can actually just outlaw and ignore anything that doesn't look like that. And the internet, yay, social networks have this beautiful way of allowing you to do that for good and for bad. And so I want you to start challenging what you're taking in, right? You have one way of looking at something. I want you to start looking at it in another way. Just challenge yourself in the way that you look at any particular item. And I'm not saying that you're going to show up there and you're going to go, yep, convinced. You're right. Right? Not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying just start to look. Because if you don't challenge the way that you look at things, if we don't continue trying to grow, what happens? We stay right here. We have one opinion. Right? I want growth for this community. And the only way to keep growing is to keep challenging yourself and to challenge the people around you. Because we have built worlds, knowingly and unknowingly, right, that cater to us thinking one way. And today, I want you to start broadening where you look for information, where you find information, things that you like, because that's going to start to open this world up for you, right? I talked about a long time ago about how algorithms actually will feed you whatever it is you want. So if you want the world to open up for you, if you wanted to go down some path, really all you need to do is type it into a Google search bar. You'll see it for the rest of the month, right? So the only way to do that, to change what your network looks like, to challenge the things that you think, is by seeking that information. And then seek and share if you found something that changed your mind on any given subject. Okay? Keep going and keep growing. I just want you to know that the world really is built to give you what you're looking for, which is wonderful and dangerous all in the same breath. And we'll continue to adapt and learn and grow. But I can tell you, as someone who worked in the industry, you have the ability to change the way that you look at things. But you are going to have to take that first step. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Well, that was done. I just recorded for longer than I needed to.